Hello there. I wanted to take a minute and just go over two of the many 6 different micro skills that are being talked about this week during week 5 of the course. And I wanted to do it in a way that I was going to incorporate some creative physical multisensory props along with it. And as the term goes on, actually starting next week, you will start to understand why I insist on incorporating these. So, number one, the first skill I want to talk about, actually I'm not going to use a prop for, is the skill, the micro skill of questioning, probing, asking open or closed-ended questions. Now, I'm not allergic to asking questions. Questions are one of those micro skills that when you use them intentionally and use them well are essential to doing good counseling. However, many people misunderstand the purpose of using probes, using questions or probes. The purpose of asking a question is really ultimately not to give the counselor information so much as it is to give the client some information about themselves. It's a skill designed to help people to think. So the best questions are questions that cause people to think, whether they're open questions or closed questions. And that's an important piece. So I really honor people who can ask wonderful questions, and I hope that you learn that skill. Also that you don't just keep asking question after question automatically because you think you're supposed to say something. That's not a good thing. Okay, the other skill that I wanted to go over briefly with you is one that has seemed to have baffled many students, and they think it's really horrendous and hard. And it's the skill of reframing. It's very simple. It's a day here in Utah, which is a rarity, but it's raining. And a lot of people would say, oh, it's a rainy day. Well, a rainy day is a day when the flowers are getting watered for free. I'm taking what might be perceived or presented by a client as a negative thing and reframing it or putting it in context that it's seen as a positive thing. Very simple. You never want to minimize anyone's experience. You can say to that person who doesn't like the rainy day, I understand that rainy days in your experience have been maybe boring or unpleasant because you love the sun. But there are other ways to think of it if you're interested, maybe, and always presenting my reframes in a tentative way and asking the client respectfully whether or not that makes sense for them, which would be a checkout. Sorry, I just knocked over my nesting dolls. The nesting dolls are one prop that I use in many different ways, and then these blocks are another prop that I use in many different ways. So what I'm going to be showing you is actually mixing some props. We're talking in the optional question this week about divorcing one's family and possible good reasons for that. And this is an example of this. I've got a person who is uncomfortable with her family. This is how she grew up. She grew up in a family that believes that she is bad and sinful because she's gay. She is a second-class member of the family because she is gay. They would say that she insists on being gay. She has grown up. She's now 50 years old. And there's a part of her that still hates herself because she was taught that growing up. And she has grown a little bit, but she still keeps trying to fit in. See, it's not working. She keeps trying to fit in with her family. And through counseling, I'm encouraging her to actually see her gayness in its full flower of possibilities of the good things, that she's less limited in the ways that she thinks about people, that she's more open-minded, possibly that she has more sensitivity to spiritual things, which I've noticed with a lot of gay people. But as she grows, she no longer fits with her family. So the temptation for her is to shrink and to kind of get smaller, even smaller, just in order to fit in with her family. I'm giving her another option. The other option is to stay grown and to find a new family, find an intentional or a family of choice an intentional family or a family of choice. In fact, she might even find a family that even encourages her to grow more. She's a very interesting person who's been very successful at business, but doesn't believe that she has the ability to do what she's starting to do, which is to grow her business to a national level. And part of that is because there's a little part of her that hasn't outgrown what her family has told her. So this is a reframe about someone leaving a family, not because they don't like or hate their family, but because they've grown beyond their family. And in truth, a lot of us grow past our parents or our siblings or our families in many dimensions. Hopefully we can encourage our families to grow so that they can grow with us. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. Another reframe, this is a reframing. Another reframing is this story. And some of you may have heard this from me at residency, so I apologize if you have. But here's a story that I've learned from the mindfulness tradition of Buddhist philosophy, and it's a story about why it is that sometimes people behave meanly and are angry. Now, this story is very useful for me as a reframe when I have two people in a relationship, a love relationship, married or not, who are struggling because one partner often gets in a bad mood. And when one partner gets in a bad mood, it seems as though the other partner follows them. And then they end up fighting and saying mean things to each other. And they even forget what the first thing that got them in the bad mood really was. This kind of pattern is not uncommon. It might be typical, and it's one that I know that I used to participate in, so maybe some of you find it familiar. So the story goes this way. You're walking down a path in the woods, and you see a puppy. And you see that puppy sitting by the side of the road, and it looks really helpless, and it looks really sweet, and it looks kind of lost. So you reach out to touch the puppy, and it snarls at you, bares its teeth, and growls. Well, at that point you go, screw you, puppy, I'm not interested in petting you. And you go to walk by it, and as you walk by the puppy, you notice something. Notice that its back leg is caught in a trap. And all of a sudden you recognize why that puppy looks so mean the way it did. Because it's in pain. Because its leg is in a trap. Most people that I know who are acting mean, distant, like they don't care to be in my presence, or they're unhappy about something, even though they are in my presence. And I guess sometimes think as a counselor, I'm supposed to make people feel better, and I can't. Those people oftentimes have their leg in a trap. And when I understand that, it helps me to continue to be compassionate and continue to try to help them. So, a couple of ways of reframing using some props, stories, pictures, you name it. I hope you have a good week. I'll talk to you later. Bye.